Well, thanks for joining me for this month's edition of TNT, Tim's New Tips. This month I'm going to be talking a little bit about sales, and in specific sales objections. Now, there are three real truths about any sale that you're going to undertake. The first is that not every prospect is going to say yes. So if you're in sales, you're just going to have to get used to that. Unless you're in the miracle world of sales, you are going to get some objections and some people that just say no to you. The second thing is that every salesperson, me included, hears lots of no's during their sales career. So you're actually just going to have to get really comfortable with it as a human being, not just understanding that it happens. Now, the third thing is that not every no that you, I, or any other salesperson hears is actually necessary. The reality is that we're all human, we all make mistakes, but this is about improving from whatever starting position you're at. And one of the things that a no tells you is it says, either it just wasn't quite the right prospect, your dequalification process on the front end meant that you were speaking to the wrong person. If that's the case, take it right back to the beginning, your marketing, your first phases of sales engagement, and simply take that error out. But once you've got the right prospect, there's only one real reason as to why people say no, and that's that we didn't get it right. Somewhere along the line, we failed in our sales process. They had a need, we had a solution, somewhere in the middle we broke down. So what I'd actually recommend is taking a look at how your sales process happens. How are the buyer's decisions made? At what point do they actually move forwards in their decision-making process? And where can you get involved? Now, assuming you've done all that and you've got a good defined sales process and you're running it through, there are only going to be three ways in which you actually get a sales objection raised. Now, please understand that a sales objection isn't just somebody saying no. There are many, many ways of people saying no. I'm too busy, I don't have the budget, it's not the right thing. There's lots and lots of ways in which people will say no to you, ever so politely, but really it's an objection to whatever you've put in front of them. Your solution doesn't match, your engagement with them didn't work, they don't trust you, don't trust the company, don't trust themselves with the decision. There's all kinds of reasons as to why that happens. But most of those objections, most of the reasons people don't buy are actually obvious. We know actually what happens. We know that we could find out what the budget is. We know we could find out what their requirements were and therefore make a better suggestion on the solution. But somewhere in our sales process earlier on, we failed to do so. So what do we do then? So there's three ways the sales objection gets raised. It gets raised by you, it gets raised by them, or it doesn't get raised at all. Now the question is, which one of those is actually best? So I'm going to take it in reverse order. So if it doesn't get raised at all, if your prospect has a reason they're not going to buy from you, but they just don't share with you what that reason is, well, you're a dead duck. There's nothing you can do about it, and actually what's going to happen is they're going to leave without even ever having told you the real reason why they said, no, I'm not buying from you. So really early on in your sales process, you need to introduce the right questions that uncover all the potential objection points, or understand through your own experience earlier on in other sales what types of objections do people like them have that I can pick up on earlier. The second element is if your prospect actually raises the objection. If they get to the point of saying, I like the idea, Tim, but actually this is a problem for me. Now, if they're doing that, there's a good point to it, which is the fact that they feel comfortable enough with you to actually raise it. They actually have some form of trust and engagement happening with you, which is to your credit. It means you've done a good job on the front end of actually getting them open enough to share what their real view is. But the problem that you're experiencing is that as a customer, whenever we raise an objection, what it means is that we had a fear, a concern, we've actually looked at the offering or considered it, and now we're feeling bad about it. We're feeling bad about the fact that we're having to raise it because we know that the salesperson wants the sale and the commission, but we also feel bad. The car that I was looking at buying actually isn't right for me, or I'm worried that actually my budget doesn't extend to whatever it is I'm looking to buy. I've got a negative emotion. And the hard thing then as a salesperson is if you're going to have to deal with that negativity, turn it round and phrase it positively so they're then going to go forwards and buy, well, you can do it if you're skillful. Good objection handling skills will get you there in some cases, but you're always going to be fighting against the tide because of that negative emotion that happened early on. So how do we overcome that? Well, option number 3, which is actually I raise it, or as a salesperson, we raise it. Because if I understand what the likely objection is going to be, and I choose to raise it positively during my conversation with my prospect, well, what does that mean? It means that actually the prospect I'm speaking with looks at me and says, this person thinks like me. They're looking at actually their solution or their sales option like a customer does, and I like that. They're like me. It's no longer him and me, it's us. We're looking at this decision together, and he's raising the common concerns and he's trying to help me get past that or feel comfortable about what I'm going to buy. So it takes out a negative emotion, it breeds trust on the front end. The second side is that if you are the person that's actually raising the objection as the salesperson, well, you can do it on your terms, right? You can raise it at the appropriate point with the appropriate evidence to counter it, and you can use all of the pre-framing you want to position it in the way you want it. A simple example might be to say, well, look, I know that you're a bit worried, Mr. Johnson, about how long this project might take to complete. You and many customers that I've dealt with before also had that concern when we first got engaged. But actually what they found was that by following our project management system, they achieved not only on time, but also on budget, and they felt really good about it at the end. So I'm just going to demonstrate how that works for you so you feel really comfortable before we move forward. Now what I'm doing is I'm positioning the solution to the potential problem, but without having the negativity coming out on the front end. Even though I'm saying it might exist, I'm framing it. And that gives me a great degree of power in driving the sales process forward. So when you're looking at the options of, do I want it raised at all? Yes, you do. Do you want it to be raised by them or you? Well, hopefully by you. It makes it a much easier sales process and your conversion rate will rise. So that's sales tip number 1. I hope that helps you with your objection handling. Look forward to hearing of your successes going forward. Thanks for being here.